TIFU by accidentally ghosting a great first date. So last week I was in Korea and spontaneously decided to download Tinder a day before I was supposed to leave since I had no plans that day. Luckily, I found a guy who was willing to meet up with me that day, and we planned to meet for dinner in Seoul. Then he told me he actually had plans at night, but was willing to meet up for coffee. I agreed, and we end up meeting a few hours later to grab a coffee. He pays for my drink, and immediately we connect and talk for a very long time. He was super sweet and very attentive throughout the whole date. I was surprised that we shared many similar interests. He promised that when I visit Korea again, he'd show me around and made tentative plans. He repeatedly told me he wanted to meet again, which I took as a sign of interest. Since I was returning to Japan, I had no intention of continuing to use Tinder, so I asked for another way to contact him. Since we were in Korea, I figured he would have KakaoTalk, a Korean messaging app, so I suggested that I should add him on Kakao. First, big fuck up. I added him on Kakao through his QR code, despite never using the app before, then send a quick hi message and close the app. After that, I forgot about it, and we quickly went back to chatting and banter. Eventually, it came around time for dinner, but neither of us wanted to leave early, and since he had his commitment at 9 p.m., he suggested we walk around and grab dinner. I agreed, and we walked around the streets of Seoul to find a place to eat. We settled for street food and talked over dinner. This time, I paid for the meal as a thank you for the coffee, and we head back to the station. But since neither of us wanted to depart, we made one last pit stop, and he decided to show me a Korean bookstore. We were supposed to end the date at 7 p.m., but we kept on pushing it back as we found new things to discuss, until it reached almost 7:30. It was finally time to go, so we walked to the station together. He told me that he was very lucky to have met me, and that I should call him when I reached my hotel safely. We agreed to keep in touch online. We depart and I get on the train. My hotel was 1 hour and 30 minutes away by train, so 45 minutes in, I decided to spontaneously delete Tinder. Since I had this guy on Kakao, it shouldn't have been a problem to delete Tinder, right? Second fuck up. When I finally reached my hotel around 9 p.m., I decided to open up KakaoTalk and message him. I look at our chat log and it was empty. I remember thinking, weird, I thought I messaged hi earlier, but I quickly dismissed it and tried to send another message. It didn't go through. So I tested another message, and it didn't work. Turns out I'm partially banned from KakaoTalk, because the number I registered with isn't associated with a carrier anymore. This means I can't send messages unless they send the first message. I quickly go into panic mode and try to contact him through other means. However, I deleted my Tinder account, which was my main way of contacting him. So I thought that maybe I should make another Kakao account with my Korean number and contact him through there. So I uninstall and reinstall KakaoTalk and create a new account. Third fuck up. Clearly I wasn't thinking because there was no way to re-add him since I don't have his Kakao ID. So I backtrack and tried to log into my old Kakao account and just wait for him to message me first. Immediately, I receive a pop-up notification. This account is temporarily disabled. I thought the ban only extended to messaging, but apparently, now I can't log in either. I messaged Kakao support, and they said it would take several weeks to unban me if they don't find anything wrong. Great, so now I guess I unwillingly ghosted my first date. I really put in the effort to contact him again by trying to find other social media, but to my avail, I had no luck. So I guess I will never be able to contact him again, and the whole date was just one big fever dream of my time in Korea. Update 1. I tried the GPS spoofing Tinder hack so many of you suggested, and was able to land my account in Gangnam, Seoul, where I initially was when I matched with him. But to my dismay, I couldn't find him at all. I narrowed down my options to his age range, but it still didn't work. My index finger was swiping left constantly, that I felt like a broken record. I swiped left on hundreds of guys until eventually, there were no more matches to be found. So I finally decide to replay the entire date over again in my head, and suddenly recall my date, explaining how he signed up for a language exchange app to learn English, and how he's an active member. I didn't recall the name of the app, but it was a total big-brained move that I didn't utilize the power bequeathed before my very hands, which was Google. So now, with 1 million fewer IQ points, I search language exchange apps popular in Korea, and was presented with a few options. Immediately, one of the icons displayed looked very familiar. That's the one, I thought. That's the app that he showed me during our date. I rushed to the App Store to download the app and impatiently fill out the prompts to create a new account. I selected the Want to Learn Korean and Want to Teach English options. Finally, I was done creating my profile. The app told me it would take up to 7 days to approve of my account, so I can start finding language exchange partners. Since this was my only lead left, I unwillingly played the waiting game. An hour later, I receive a notification that my account was approved. I rushed to the app and nervously scanned the Korean profiles that popped up in my feed. There were profiles after profiles of teen girls with straight black hair and wispy bangs trying to emulate their favorite K-pop idol, or middle-aged guys with unflattering selfie angles. But none of them was the guy I was looking for. I was a bit dejected, but found out that the premium subscription allowed me to search for specific users. I fidget around, trying to find my date from the free users list, but was finding very little luck with that method. I caved in, shelling out the $20 for the premium subscription, justifying that it makes sense to pay for it because at least I'll get to practice speaking different languages, although that was just an excuse to hopefully rekindle with him. Once my transaction was complete, I accessed the search bar and typed in his Tinder alias. My reasoning was that since his actual Korean name is so common, think John Smith, he wouldn't put it on the app. I held my breath, waiting for the results to show up, but no results were found. I was slightly disappointed, but did not lose hope. Maybe by a stroke of luck, searching by his Korean name would work? I was doubtful, but grasping at whichever straws I had left. From past experience, searching up his Korean name on Facebook gave me more than 100 results, but none of them were him. I typed in his Korean name and pressed enter. I resumed holding my breath and prayed that this would work. The words, 2 results, popped up on my screen. I frantically looked at the results. The first profile was a buff dude with a gnarly bleached blonde goatee. Not my guy, I dismissed. Then I quickly glimpsed at the second profile, and my eyes widened and my heart froze. It was him. It was the guy I so desperately tried to find this past week. I clicked on his profile, but suddenly, my anxiety kicked in. What if I message him and he thinks I'm too desperate and is turned off? I panicked, but forced myself to initiate a message anyways. Like, what was I going to say? Hey, sorry for ghosting you for a week. Are we Gucci? What if he's mad? What if he doesn't like me anymore? I took a deep breath to clear my mind and tried to articulately explain my situation in a few sentences. I repeatedly revised and deleted parts of my opening message before I finally decided to take the dive and hit send. Then it was playing the waiting game again. One perk about being a premium member on this app was that you got to see when users are active. After a few minutes, the app said he was active right now. Great, I thought optimistically. He'll message me soon, and we'll clear up all misunderstandings. Minutes went by, and he didn't respond. That's okay. Maybe he's in a conversation with someone else. Several minutes turned into an hour, and 1 hour turned into 2 hours. My stomach churned. Maybe I really did F you by not being cautious enough with my messaging apps. I mean, what kind of sick psychological game was this? Making me receive a taste of my own medicine. Every time my phone buzzed with a notification from the language app, my ears perked up a bit. But it was always some middle-aged guy propositioning me for sex or a white dude with yellow fever trying to use the new pickup lines he learned in Japanese. Occasionally, I'd get a wholesome friend request from someone genuinely trying to learn English. But nevertheless, out of all the 32 messages I received, none were from my date. Yet, I gave him the benefit of the doubt from experiencing how overwhelming the app could be within those 2 hours. I changed my language exchange profile to exactly mirror my Tinder profile and put my language exchange profile on high visibility mode so that he would notice it. Suddenly, I got an influx of messages from various users, in addition to the Reddit notifications from my previous TIFU. I couldn't stand it, and temporarily muted all my notifications on my phone and headed to class for 4 hours. After class, I was ready to cut my losses and understood if my date didn't want to contact me again. However, I decided to open up the app after class and check my messages, not expecting anything to happen. But still, within me was a nestled hope that he still wanted to reach out to me. And there it was, nestled within all the other messages, was an unread message from my date. Even though I said I was ready to cut my losses just a few minutes before, I couldn't help but squeal. I couldn't stop my smiling and did an excitement lap around the hallway outside my classroom. He seemed genuinely happy that I found him again and that he could keep in contact with me. I was jumping for joy on the way back home. We resumed our conversation from the week before as if nothing happened. Later in the day, he called me through the language app and we talked about our crazy weeks. I'm just so glad to have found him again and talked to him about various topics. I don't need some crazy intense rom-com-esque relationship. I'm just content with just keeping in contact and seeing what goes from there.